And so I hopefully I'll tell you right shot. We're beginning a new parak. This is the majority, it segues from Moed Katan into Hilchas Avelis. The Hilchas Avelis is the main sugya of Hilchas Avelis, is Moed Katan. And there's very interesting, there were people for many years who did not learn this parak. They felt that this parak was an ayin hara for keeping Hilchas Avelis. So therefore they didn't learn it. The Rabbi Yehuda Chassid writes emphatically that it's Tov, like Shlomo Melech writes, it's better to come from a base oval than a base mishta, and he says that Zachal Tov, someone who learns this parak. So it's very interesting that this had a certain, if not superstition associated with it, but it wasn't learned. But this is again primary source for Hilchas Avelis, and we shall begin. Says the Mishnah. Ve'elu megalchin b'moed. These are the people again. Be megalchin b'moed. In other words, you're not allowed to take a haircut on Chol Hamoed. The Gemara is going to ask why. We know you can't take a haircut on Chol Hamoed. The Gemara is going to ask why. However, these are the people who are permitted to take a haircut on Chol Hamoed. Haba min Medinas Hayam is someone who comes from a journey. He didn't have a chance to take beforehand. When Beis Hashvia, he's let out of prison. Vayotza of captivity. Vayotza Beis Ha'usurim, he's let out of prison. Va'manuda, a person that was in Chayrin. She'tiula chachamim, that the chachamim permitted him to come back in. We'll see what that means. V'chein mishenishal l'chachim, someone who had a neder not to take a haircut, I guess, v'chuta, and he was permitted. So all these people, they're able to be megaleach on the ma'id because they couldn't have done it beforehand. As we're going to see in the Gemara, the reason why a person goes ahead and takes a haircut in the ma'id, that you shouldn't enter the ma'id in a state of what's called nivel, in a state of disarray and not looking your best. These people who didn't have the capacity to go ahead and groom themselves properly before the regel, therefore they in fact are able to take it doesn't apply, and therefore they could go ahead and take on the regel. Nazir mitzayra go from the state of tumah l'tayra. They're able to go ahead if it falls out on Chol Hamoed. They're able to go ahead and now the Nazir is a little difficult because the Nazir who's Tameh has to start his Avelis again, starts his Naziris again. But in fact, some people are not going to that. But the Mitzayra, we know it goes from a state of Tumla Tyra, it takes a body shape. Therefore, that would be able to be done in Chol Hamoed. Another thing that we don't do in Chol Hamoed is wash our clothing. However, these are people who could wash their clothing on Chol Hamoed. Habam Medinas Hayam, again, someone comes from overseas, Beis Hashvia, let the captivity, Vayotzim Beis Hasurim, let out of prison, Amin Aleph, Umenuda, Shetiu Lechachamim, and someone who had been Chayrim, excommunicated, V'chemisha Nishal Lechacham V'huter, again, the exact same criteria as the one who was able to take a haircut. And now Nudin, Mitbachos Hayedayim, napkins, cloth napkins, Mitbachos Hasfarim, and Mitbachos that would cover Sfarim. That would be like a towel. Zovim v'zavois, or zavim, women or men who have some coming from the body and dirties their clothing. Vanidois, so a woman who's a menstruant. Vayoledois, when give birth. All these would have discharge that would go ahead and dirty their clothing. They're able to wash on Chol Hamoed. Elum mutarim b'shar kol bnei adam asur, all bnei adam asur. So we have basically two din in the Mishnah: the din of giluach, the din of kibus. Giluach, again, we're going to see the reason now. Kibus will be for another day. Says the Gemara, B'shar kol adam, my time asur. Why is everyone else not able to take a haircut on Chol Hamoed? Kedetnan, anshe mishmar v'anshe maimid, asur l'sape l'chabes, u'b'chamishim mutarim, if they cover the Shabbos. Okay, those of us who were present by Masechta Tainis knows that there were three groups of people. There was the Kahanim, Leviim, and they were called the Anshei Maimid, who would go ahead and be the shluchim of Klal Yisrael, the Shas, the Karbanos were brought. So there were 24 Mishmarim. Partially those came up to Yerushalayim, and the rest remains in their cities. And they said, if you might remember from Megillah, they would say the Bereshis. We had this before, right? In the Pasuk Kriya, the Maimadim, they would learn Bereshis. We said, we just joined by White Trash, guys. Just say hello to White Trash down there. Look at that. Okay, anyway. Just put your teeth in, okay? Anyway, so the Gemara is saying that these people they would not be they're not able to take a haircut during the week. On Thursday they can. For Amar Rabbi Rav Chana, Amar Rav Elazar, my timer. What's the reason that the Anshe Maimed could not take a haircut during the week? They should not go ahead and enter their servitude, their weeks of service. They know exactly when they're going to be. So would it be proper to go into the Beis HaMikdash in an unkept state? So to ensure that they would not be in an unkept state, they said they can't take a haircut during their Mamadas, thus ensuring that they take a haircut beforehand. Hachanami, here too by Chol Moed, Kadesh Layichnesu L'Regel Kashem Menuvalim. Right, and we all know people take a haircut before the regel for that reason. So very geschmack. The reason you can't take a haircut in Chol Moed is to ensure you give proper cover to the regel, looking your best by taking a haircut beforehand. So therefore, boy Reb Zera, of the loy aveda erev regel. Let's say this guy what happened to him was he lost something very precious to him, and he's busy. He had every mind to take a haircut erev regel, and then he lost an aveda or something occurred that would go ahead and predispose him that he won't be able to take a haircut because he's so busy looking for his aveda, right? Kivin the honest mutter. Do we say since it's an honest erev the regel, he could take a haircut during the regel? Since you don't have any proof as to why he entered the regel in a state of unkeptness, loy. In other words, this guy has a very good excuse. He's no different than the guy who was let out of prison or came from overseas or was let out of captivity. He had a very good reason why he couldn't take a haircut. He lost something that was so precious. He was so busy with it. He had a very good reason. So therefore, he's no different and he should be able to take a haircut during the regel? Or no? A person who comes out of captivity, hey, did you hear who was free? Hey, Beis Asurim, did you hear who was free? Did you hear who came home? There is a publicity associated with those events that people would know, they had no choice, and therefore they can take on the regel, meaning Chol Moed. Why? Because they had no choice beforehand. Mashen came, no one knows that this person was so busy looking for an Aveda. He's just a regular Joe. And therefore, since it's low-key his reason, maybe he can't. That's the studim of the Shaila. Do we say he can? Do we say he can't? Okay, there's a Gemara in Pesachim discusses making matzah with siyurim in the matzah. The people who were able to go ahead and make a matzah that had pictures in the matzah. They said that you shouldn't do it during you shouldn't do it. Why? Because in the time period of making the siyurim, the images, the dough may rise and you'll end up with a chametz sticker problem. Now there was a baker called Beisos. He had a mold. And he would just go ahead, take the flour, and boom, with that mold, instantaneously he had a matzah that had a picture on it. And he had no problem whatsoever of it becoming chametz. So the question is, in that scenario, would we let him do it? And the answer is no. Why? Because people will say all srikin are asa, the srike basis mutarim, all srikin, all matzahs that has images in are asa, but his is muta. So who are din? All people can't take a haircut, and this person could. So using that concept from Psachim, we were able to be poished to Shaila about a person who lost an Aveda, and there's no hoichacha that as to why he didn't take a haircut that he would be able to. That's the Gemara. Says the Gemara inside. Says the Gemara. Rabbi says Abaya, Yomru, they're going to say, Kol hasurikin asurim, all surikim are asa, all surikin, all matzahs that would have images in our asa, and srike basis mutarim. And obviously, therefore, they said that the basis could not go ahead and do it. So too over here, this person lost the Aveda, we can't do it. That's Hobie's son. He's the one who ended the harem. Hobie's harem, or the seminary. He had 5 girls, so this is his lordship. So now, Ulatimei, Chad Amr Asi, Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Kol mi she'ein lo ela cholek echad. Anyone who does what? Has one tunic. They had one tunic, that is a tunic that covered their body. Mutter l'kaivsa b'chol shel moed. You're permitted to go ahead and you're permitted to go ahead and you're permitted to go ahead and wash in chol moed. So again, we associated in the Mishnah taking haircuts and washing. The first thing being taking a haircut, the second thing of washing. So this person will be able to wash his clothing. Why don't we use the following same concept you wanted to use to say that a person could take a haircut? Let's use that same concept and say that the person who only has one tunic should not be able to go ahead and wash his clothing. On that, the Gemara says, his belt will be machiach on it. There are a few pshatim. I like Rashi in the Ksav Yad. Guys, it used to be that a person had more than one tunic, but he only had one belt. So what would he do? When he washed the tunic, he would take the belt off the tunic and put it on the other tunic he's wearing, because he only has one belt. But if he only has one tunic, he would leave the belt on. So Memelo, you have a haichacha that this person only has one tunic and therefore he's washing it. So you wouldn't say kol surike. Again, when do we say kol surike basis mutarim, surike basis asurim, right? Mutarim. When do we say that? Is when there's no haichacha, there's no proof. But over here, since you have the belt attached to the tunic while it's hanging on the line, people will know that he only has one shirt and therefore is permitted to wash it on chol hamoed. Rav Ashi Masni, the shaila the following way: Boy Reb Zera, umin she'av delay aveda. Now, not a regular guy on umin. So let's go. This guy is he is a barber. Barber's busiest day of the year. Barber's busiest day of the year is b'shas the regel. He's mamish busy. Comes erev the regel, he's close to business. Everyone says, "What in the world is going on?" Comes out that he lost something and he was busy, so busy he couldn't open up. So the shaila now gets a little more deeper. Why? Because since the umin is not opened up, he's not a regular Joe. If the umin's opened up, people are prone to say that maybe he was. There must be a reason for it, and then maybe in Kalamoid he would be able to take a haircut. Or no? Do we say he's not one of the categories that we mentioned in the Mishnah? It's not enough of a chacha and not. So that's the shaila. Boy Rav Zera, umin she'avdei aveda, erva regel mahu. Even the uminu mucha milsa, it's not a chacha if he doesn't take a haircut that he should be able to. Idilma kiven the lab mucha milsa kihanach. It's not such a chacha like a guy getting out of prison or a guy getting out of captivity or a guy coming from overseas. Like, and he can't take a haircut. And the Gemara says, Teku tishpi yitaris kushas labayis. We have to wait for Eliyahu Navi to come along. Okay. We said a person who comes from Medina Sayyam is able to take a haircut. Masnisan like Rabbi Yehuda. Masnisan says that you're able to take a haircut. It's not like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, we learned their Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion. Habam in Medina Sayyam, lo yigal leach. A person who comes from Medina Sayyam should not take a haircut. Because he went out without rishus. We'll see what that means. Amar Rava says Rava the following. Okay, so right now, topic statement says Rabbi Yehuda, a person who goes to Medina Sayyam, left without rishus, he can't take a haircut. Mashma carte blanche statement. But what happens if he would? What happens if he would have left with rishus? Oh no! Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Because it's changing that those AirPods are around again.
We're not hearing you. There's no hearing going on.
I'm coming with him, and he has to target the police, and he's just all over the place, right?
Can't hear anything.
Rabbi, we're not hearing you.
I wonder if my Mezagavia works now. I have a thing about Mezagavia too on here.
Sorry, where's the computer? It's over by the table?
Yeah.
We don't hear you, Liz.
Okay, so we have Rabbi Yehuda saying we have two dinim. To go out to Spatzir, Stamazai, everyone says if you come back, you can't take your haircut. Again, you don't have to leave. To go out from Mizainis with for Pranasa purpose, everyone says, again, even Rabbi Yehuda would agree. If you went out to make a profit, that's the machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda is Medama making a profit to going out for Spatzir, just for luxurious purposes, and Rabbi and the Chachamim, right? And Chachamim say your Maviach is what is going to be what is going to be similar to Havacha, similar to Mizainis. That's the Ma'amidamale. One compares it what? One compares it to Lashut. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Ma'amidamale kill Mizainis. Mesivate. Now we ask a question that makes no sense. I'm a Rebbe. Now Rebbe, sometimes we had this before. Rebbe says it appears to me the words like this person here versus over there. Like Rebbe makes a pshara, a compromise in psak. So I'm a Rebbe. Near and Rebbe Yehuda k'shiyotze shalei b'rishus. Now we just have to fill in the blanks. What does it mean shalei b'rishus? What does it mean b'rishus? Now, what does it mean my shalei b'rishus? Ilema lashut. If you tell me shalei b'rishus means lashut and meaning, and there Rebbe says the words are like Rebbe Yehuda, but 1 second. You don't have to say the words like Rebbe Yehuda. Even the Chachamim Moed, if you went out for Shvatzir, that it's aser. So what does Shalei Mishus means? Went out to make a living, and there the words are like Rebbe Yehuda. Everyone says it's mutter there. Even Rebbe Yehuda would say it's mutter there. El Pshita must be larvicha. So it must be, guys, that Shalei B'Shus is larvicha. So it must be that what? Shalei B'Shus is larvicha. Okay, so right now, Rebbe is paskin, when it comes to larvacha, the halacha is like Rebbe Yehuda. That what? That it's like lashut. Aim a seifa. What about the seifa? Near in the vichachamim k'shiyotze b'rishus. Now, my b'rishus. Now, what does my b'rishus mean? Let's fill in the blanks. Ilaim el mizaynis hamet kol muta. It can't mean that b'rishus Rabbi Yehuda would disagree, because Rabbi Yehuda, if b'rishus means mizaynis, Rabbi Yehuda agrees by that. You don't need Rabbi to say the halachas like that, because there is no machlokes. Elav must be larvicha. It must be that what? To make a profit. There he agrees with what? With the Chachamim. You established already that the words are like Rabbi Yehuda, the Ravacha. In other words, from the way you're translating his Rishus and Shalai Rishus, they both mean Laharvacha. And you're saying, I agree with Rabbi Yehuda by Arvacha, and I agree with the Chachamim by Arvacha. That makes no sense. In other words, we said two things. Rabbi said, Rishus, Shalai Rishus. Now let's interchange the words. Instead of Shalai Rishus, put in the word Harvacha to make a profit. So Rabbi's saying, it appears to me the words of Rabbi Yehuda by Harvacha that you're not allowed. It appears to me the words of the Chacham by Harvacha that you are allowed. That's a stira minei obey. It's a contradiction innately in itself. That can't be the pshat. So therefore, what does it mean? Let's see. Says the Gemara. Let's read it a different way. Halchi Kamar. Near the Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanon. Rabbi is not saying psak. Rabbi is saying, explaining. The words of the Rabbi Yehuda to the Chachamim would disagree because she hates Shlei B'Shus. Umayni is lashut. The Chachamim agree over there. Shafilu Chachamim le'nechlu olav. Elul harvicha. Aval lashut moedele. And near the Rabbanon Rabbi Yehuda. Why? Shafilu Rabbi Yehuda le'nechlu aleim el harvicha. Aval mizaynis. So therefore, basically, we're all concluding the same thing, guys. We're all concluding the same thing. That harvacha seems to be permitted. That harvacha is machlokes. B'zaynis, everyone agrees that yes, and Lashon everyone agrees no. That's including remark. Amishmul, cotton not noilid b'mayid. A cotton that's born in the mayid, mutter legaleach b'mayid. Rashi says there's no bigger person that came out of a base asurim than a cotton. He's born. Until then, he was in his mother's womb. Now, as a result of being born, getting out of his mother's womb, he's able to go ahead and take a haircut. So therefore, a cotton is mutter to go ahead and take a haircut. Cotton hanoilid b'mayid, mutter legaleach b'mayid. Shein l'cha base asurim gadol mizeh. The mayid in may karolai, asking the mayid, but not before. So you're telling me that a cotton cannot take a haircut, right? If he's born before the mayid, meaning if he's born on the mayid, he could take a haircut. If he's born before the mayid, and now the mother wants to give me a haircut, then he cannot. Again, if he's born on chalamayid, you can give me a haircut. If he's born before the regel, and now the mother wants to give me a haircut on chalamayid, he's no different than any other person that cannot take a haircut on chalamayid. Masiv Rav Pinchas Kol Elu Sha'amru. All those that we said, Mutter L'Galeach B'Mayed, Mutter L'Galeach B'Mei Avelei. They're mutter to go ahead and be Megaleach B'Mei Avelei. All that we said that you can be Megaleach B'Mayed, Mutter L'Megaleach B'Mei Avelei. So meaning, let's take it. A person who comes out of prison, a person who comes out of captivity, a person who comes from overseas, a person who is his nether was taken off. So all those people would be able, during the shloshim of Avelis, would be able to take a haircut. That seems to be the topic statement, that they would be able to go ahead and take a haircut during the Avelis. Ha'asa l'galeach b'mayed, but if it would be asa to take a haircut during the mayed, asa l'galeach b'mei Avelai, then they would not be able to take Avelis. Now, let's go through this. So a cotton that's born, guys, a cotton that's born before the mayed, would not be able to take a haircut by Avelis because he's being misabel. He's a cotton. Again, fill in the blanks. Here's a blank. If you can't take a haircut in Chalamoid, you can't take a haircut b'mei Avelis. You're telling me that a cotton that was born before the Moed cannot take a haircut in Chalamoid. It lends itself, therefore, he can't take a haircut during the Mei Avelis. Amid Beis, Ti'i Amit cotton. Isbei plukta. If you're going to tell me by cotton, there are different type of katanim, a cotton born on the moed and a cotton born before the moed, right? A cotton born before the moed would not be able to take a haircut in Avelis. A cotton born on the moed would be able to take a haircut in Avelis. Nimsa Avelis nayagas b'cotton. Now you're being noyig Avelis b'cotton. The one who was born before the moed, you're being noyig Avelis. Ivar Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Mikarman the cotton, you go ahead and rip the cotton's clothing, if they agmas nefesh, that other people should see him and they should be in the sabbath. Cotton has no concept of Avelis. Others should see him and they should be in the sabbath, but he himself is not in the Torah Avelis. So we have a problem. The way we Pinchas voiced this thing, Kolelu Sha'amru, is asa l'galeach. We said asa. How could it be? A cotton is asa. It's asa in chalamoid, but he's mutar b'mei Avelis. And for the Gemara, Ravashi mikatani ha'asurim tilma yeshmein asa yeshmein mutar. Guys, look back to the Amud Aleph. 3 lines from the bottom. Kolelu sh'amrim mutar l'galeach b'moed, mutar l'galeach b'mei Avelai. Ha'as asa l'galeach b'moed, asa l'galeach b'moed. Now, it doesn't say they're asurim, they're all asa. Ha'asa, meaning some are asa and some are muta. And so what? The avel is muta, the cotton is muta. Amar Ravashi, back by us. Mikatani ha'asurim, dilma yesh mehem asa. Right? And yesh mehem muta. Amema v'itema Rav Shisha Brei Rav Idi, Masni Hachi. They learned the following way. Amar Shmuel, cotton muta legalcha b'mayid. The cotton can take a haircut b'mayid. Opposite of what we said in the Amud Aleph. Right? Leishna noel b'mayid, leishna noel meikara. No difference whether he was born before the mayid or after, or during the mayid or before the mayid. Even before the mayid, it's disagreeing with the first lashon, because even before the mayid, he could take a haircut in the mayid. Amra Pinchas, Afanamitinina. Now that was a question, now becomes a proof. Afanamitinina, Kol Elu Sha'amru Muta L'Galeach B'Mayid, Muta L'Galeach B'Mei Avelai, Ha'asur L'Galeach B'Mayid, Asur L'Galeach B'Mei Avelai. Now, Iyamid Cotton Asa, you can tell me a cotton's Asa, Nimsa Avelis Naheget B'Cotton. you're going to see that the cotton is like avelis. However, we learned the karma the cotton is the agmas nefesh. If the agmas nefesh to make people feel pain, but not avelis. So you have a raya that a cotton, any cotton could go ahead and take a haircut on Chol Moed. Any cotton, whether the cotton was before or after, could take a haircut on Chol Moed. That's what we're saying right now. It says Amar Rav Ashi Yanaraya Mikatani Ha'asurim Dilma Yeshmein Masa v'Yeshmein Muta. Right? Yeshmein Asa v'Yeshmein Muta. Samam Asa Samam Muta, and you have no raya. Right? Okay. Aval Eina Noyeg Avelusa Beregel. Here's a halacha that we all know. There's no Avelus Beregel. An Aval is not Noyeg Avelus on Yontif. There's no Avelus on Yontif. Shneimar V'Samachta B'Chagecha. You should be happy in your chagim, and therefore you cannot be misabel doing your chagim. Now, we're going to go ahead and say, I will show you fascinating places, guys, in a second. Now, there's two possibilities. He was an oval and then the moed came, or he became an oval during the moed. Again, there's two possibilities. He was an oval before the moed and it went ahead and worked its way into the moed, or no, he became an oval during the moed. Now, Mimanav Shach says the Gemara, oval ain't a noiv avelis beregel. Shnemer smach beregecha. I avelis the meikara, right? Who? Let's say he was an oval beforehand. Asi asay the rabbim comes along the mitzvah asay the rabbim. V'doicha asay the yachid. The mitzvah of smach beregecha is a communal mitzvah. We're all supposed to be happy in the regel. Masha'en came the avelis, the halacha of avelis. That's only what. Okay, not a problem. Right. My daughter-in-law wants to strangle me. They're laughing. You want to say hello to Uncle Lenny and the boys?
Hi, folks.
Say hello to Uncle Lenny.
Boys.
Is it good? Did you get on the plane?
Okay, just 1 second. How'd you know I was pushing something?
Just had to listen.
Oh, you hear it? Oh, you hear me when I'm in there. This is not good for privacy. I came off the plane this morning. I was like, ooh. Okay, anyway, so an oval, guys, very good. Now, an oval, now why? If he was an oval beforehand, then you have the assay of the.
You want to
comes
record.
along and pushes what?
You want to record.
I am recording.
I don't think so. You stopped the recording before.
Start it again. Okay.
Sorry.
So we said that if he's an oval, an existing oval, that's his own mitzvah of yechidus. Comes along the mitzvah, the communal mitzvah of the rabbim, and it's doicha. We have the concept of essay dochalos assay. We're being introduced to the concept of a more powerful assay being doicha and other assay. In other words, assay dochalos assay was I can wear tzitzis made from shatnez because the mitzvah the rice of shatnez overcomes the mitzvah of the isser of leisil b'shatnez midaraisa. That's assay dochalos assay, and in Yevamis we're going to get into the concept of the mitzvah of Yibum being doicha, the lois assay of achas ishtai, right? That's where the sugya comes in. So over here we have a different concept. One assay, who's to say one is more powerful than the next? And in Achnami we are saying that. Why? Because we have the mitzvah assay of the yachid being nidcha, being pushed away, because the mitzvah assay the rabbim. And the hashtahu, and let's say what he is now the mitzvah. He's being noyig the mitzvah yontif, and now le'alenu someone dies. Le'alenu someone dies, right? Le'alenu someone dies. Then in that case, what are we going to say? Like Asi, I say the Yachid, but I say the Rabbin. I say of the Yachid won't be the I say the Rabbin. So that's the din of Minman of Shach. Now look at his top places. I find it fascinating. His top places I find it fascinating. Right. I say the Yachid, Mashma the Aveles Ika Asay Deraisa. When it says, guys, now we know the mitzvah of Isamach B'Chagecha is the mitzvah Deraisa. I just quoted you the pasuk. Mashma over here, when it says Asay the Yachid, it must be it's a mitzvah Deraisa. Midloi Kamar V'Dochi Asay Derabanan. In other words, the Gemara could have given a better answer. You know why that there's no din of Avelis on the Moed V'Samach B'Chagecha? Is because the mitzvah of the Oraisa is Doicha mitzvah Derabanan. When it did not give that answer, it must be Avelis is the Oraisa. When it came on to the Rabbin versus the Yachid, rather than the Oraisa versus the Rabbanon, it must be both the Oraisa. Because it had to come to it on a different reason. That one is the Oraisa and one is the Rabbanon. No, the one because they're both the Oraisa. So therefore, one's a Rabbin, one's a Yachid. It's fascinating. Now listen to this. Frek twice is a kasha. We said before, the day of Avelis is Drabanon. That is Asiyas Melacha is Drabanon. To work is Drabanon. The Nafgalon mivasmachta mivafachti chagechem la'avel. Avel gufa Avelis deraisa. In other words, the halachis of Avelis are Drabanon, meaning what a novel can do or can't do. But the mitzvah of being misabel is deraisa. That's one teretz. Fascinating. Fascinating, because there is no pasuk in the Torah for Avelis. Right? We brought a pasuk. Now, Miu near Lee says Taisus a better pshat that he likes better. The samachta regel nami derabanan. The samachta hainu b'shalmi simcha kedisa b'chagiga. Listen, guys, you know what? Listen to this Taisus brilliance. The reason it didn't say simcha regels deraisa and Avelis is the Rabbanon is because they're both bisman hazeh the Rabbanon. The mitzvah v'samachta b'chagecha is with a carbon shlamim. Ein simcha ela bebasa. That mitzvah that's the mitzvah deraisa v'samachta b'chagecha with a carbon bisman abayis. When we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, therefore it's the Rabbanon. Memela, we had to come up to the reason that the samachta is a din of the Rabbim rather than the Yachid. Very, very beautiful, the beautiful logic of Taisus. So in the first teretz, guys, the reason why, listen, it's much crazy. The reason why he said Rabbim v'Yachid rather than the Raisa Rabbanon is because both the Raisa. And the second teretz, the reason he said Rabbim v'Yachid is because they're both the Rabbanon. And Taisus says nearly, but they're both the Rabbanon. That's Taisus sheeted up his man says the Rabbanon. The Rambam disagrees vehemently. It's a very this is introduction to a sugya bisman hazeh of Simchas Yontiv. It's the Raisa the Rabbanon. Okay, that's a very geschmack of Taisus. Vait in Torah near Shemayim says the Gemara Menuda, a person who goes ahead is excommunicated, and we're going to see the halachas of what persons put in chayrim, and we're going to see the halachas as we go to finish the parak. Menuda Moshe Yinoig Nidoy Baragla. What's the din? Can he be noig the minig of Nidoy Baragla? Some guys, you're not allowed to go in his foramis. He has to be unshorn. You know, there's certain halachas that is he noig the halachas of Nidoy the regel. I'm Rabbi Sif Tashma. Don and din in a fashais din makas din mamanis. On the regel, Bezdin can judge capital punishment, makos, administer makos, and monetary claims. Like Saisa Dina, and if the guy doesn't listen to Din, Mishamtinale, you can put it in Chayrim on Yontif. So obviously it must be that what? Visakadaita. Eina noyeg nidoy beregel. Mishumas v'asi me mishumas v'asi me mishumat v'asi me kara asi regel doichile hashtem mishamtinale anon. Right? Pashtus. Let me read it again. I didn't read it correctly. Says the Gemara. Now, Visakadaitach, Aina Noig Niduin Beregel, Mishumash for Asi Me Kara, Asi Regel Dochile, Hashna Mishamtinale, and on Madoch, an existing Nidui, the comes along the regel and pushes off to create a nidui now on the regal. Could we possibly do that? And we're saying that if the person doesn't listen to the psak, we're going to put him in chayrim. So it must be, in fact, that we are noying the din of nidui. We must be noying the din of nidui during what? During Chol Moed, because if not, Bezdin won't be able to go ahead and paskin during Chol Moed. That's the Gemara's raya. Says the Gemara, you have no raya. Maybe it doesn't mean to go ahead and paskin. It means maybe just to look into the din. Because you don't say hachanami dinei nefashis b'tani hachanami dekatun. What are you going to say, guys? You're going to say that, in other words, they can do these things, and what are you going to say? If they don't listen, you put them in chayrim. So you're going to paskin. You're going to kill a person on the moed. How can you possibly kill a person on the moed? Well, the dayanim will not have simchas yontif. The Tanya Rabbi Kiva Omer, Minayim Sanhedrin, Shahorgues and Nefesh, Sanhedrin that kills a person, Shein Toimin Kolosiyam, that they can't eat anything that day. Tamalayma Leisoichel Aladam. You shouldn't eat when you spill dam. You shouldn't eat when you spill dam. So it's very geshmak, guys. Obviously, when it says over here that you can dodge dinei nefashos on yontif, it must be that you mamish can't judge. Because if you would judge, you'd have to kill him, and if you kill him, then you'd have to fast. That would hold him back from Simchas Yontif. Memela Hua Dinin must be that when it says that you put a person in chayrim, does not mean that way. It means you look into the din, but you wouldn't put him in chayrim. But when it says about din and fash, it means to go ahead and perfunctorily look at the case without a psak din. Hachanami regarding a case of putting him in nidoy le'inoi b'dinoi. Amalei, so they told Rabbi Yosef, Abai told Rabbi Yosef, Cain nimsa ma'anis dinoi. Right? If says Rabbi Yosef to Abaya, and Cain nimsa ma'anis dinoi, you're going to go ahead and be ma'anis the din. If you look into a din and you say the guy's chayav misa and you don't carry it out, that's called inoi din. We don't do that. So Ella, what should you do? Ella, put in the word Ella. Ella asi mitzafra. Go in the morning. Umayna b'dinoi. Go look into the din. Go up and eat and drink. Excuse me. Go up and eat and drink. V'shasi kuliyuma. V'hada asi b'shkias achama. V'gamina and go to shkias achama right before shkia. V'gamina ladina v'kalalei. So that's what you should do. That's what you should do. So therefore, the chayra, you don't have any raya about the din of nidui. Because why? Because it's going to be over there that you're speaking about looking into the din. Rabbi Tashma. Umenuda, our Mishnah said, Umenuda shetiru lechachamim, mashma, a person who was in nidui, that the chachamim said, let's take off the nidui for the moed. So let's be paisha the shaila that there's no din of nidui during the moed. Amarava, mikitani shetiru chachamim. Due to say the chachamim went ahead and mated an existing nidui, shetiru lechachamim katani. The azul paisil baldinai. The chachamim were mated. You know what? He went and some fires to baldin. The asi can make the rabbanim b'shari. And they came for the chachamim and they took off the nidui. You know why? Not because he's in nidui, but because they took off the nidui. It's no longer that they have to be in nidui.